Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us today on Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. And we have a great program today. It's a follow-up from a program we did last March. It's with Coach Keltner, who has been in the process of writing a book. The book is now complete. Have it right here. Taking the Crazy Out of Youth Sports, the Peace Process. Coach, good to have you on our program again.
Thank you, Gary. It's an honor to be here.
You know what? There's a lot of people that talk about writing a book. You actually have been working on this. Now you have the copy there. What's it feel like to have a real book in publication?
Well, a couple of things, Gary. I'm really glad I'm done finally. And I'm one of thousands of people, I would imagine, that have said at some point in their life that they'd like to write a book. I've had friends tell me that, and I can remember my dad telling me that years ago. And I think I thought it would be so much easier, and it took me 3 to 4 years to, I didn't work on it full time, but, working on it fairly regularly. And it's a lot of work, and I'm not a natural. I enjoyed the journey. I've never really been in that circle. My wife's family, Paula, her family, there's some writers and musicians and things and that. So I've always enjoyed talking to them and hearing them talk about such projects. And so it's kind of an interesting journey for me to get involved in. And I learned a lot about it, a lot of things I don't know. It's a lot of work. And it was just something after a while, I just persisted and wanted to get it done because I told so many people like you that I was going to write a book. And I thought, I've got to get it done. So I'm thankful it's done. It's the best I could do. And I'm thankful that it's finished.
Well, we had when we talked last time, you had a manuscript. What did it take to get it across the finish line? It's not like a basketball game where the clock's ticking away and you got to get it done. What did it actually take for you to get the book finished?
Well, I know there's so many people that write books, and since I have been a coach and a teacher, I know a lot of times coaches will just get a microphone or somebody and they'll just tell their story. And my book, I wanted to do some things about youth sports. I wanted to use research and some of the opinions I have and my experience in coaching and teaching, but also use some research. There's some interesting research out there about youth sports that I think people need to know. I think it's fascinating when you realize some of the things that have happened in youth sports and some of the things that are happening. And I just wanted to share that with people and just kind of try to bring some discussion, maybe stimulate some discussion about some of the things that are happening in youth sports. Unfortunately, I don't Facebook and do some things a lot of people do, but somewhere along the line, I started looking at TikTok. So I was teaching and coaching over lacrosse, and those kids would TikTok, and they would say things like, "Hey, have you seen Caden Morgan's TikTok?" Something like that. So I started looking at them, and then I see on media like that, you see craziness at youth sports where people are doing things that it's hard to explain that adults would allow that to happen. And I'm not trying to sound holier than anybody, but it's youth sports, and we're going crazy on some things. So I just thought the discussion was a goal of mine to kind of at least stimulate discussion on, can we kind of refocus or at least talk about some things. Maybe I'm unrealistic on what I think youth sports could be, but tell me why. Let's talk about, some things that could make it better maybe.
Coach, one of the things when you're on the sideline, you're down there, you're in the middle of the game, you get feedback from the fans. I know every coach gets feedback from the fans. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's not so good. But what kind of feedback do you get from a book? Do you get that same sort of feedback from the fans in the stands?
Nothing like that yet. I've been very probably protected. It's like we've released it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, but it's kind of like and I've done a few things to promote it, but there's a book signing this Sunday, December 4th at the library at 1:30. So kind of haven't done a lot to promote it, but I have had some people that have read it and said they liked it. I'm thankful for that, that there's been some people that give me positive input, but I know everybody's got their own perceptions and opinions. So I don't expect to be, have everybody tell me it's a great book or anything like that, but it's okay because it was the best I can do. And I'm not, it's my story and I'm sticking to it. I've got research in there and I've also got opinions and experience. I did coach and now I'm coaching at Victoria. So this is my 117th season of coaching youth sports. So I've got opinions. I think maybe there aren't too many people walking around that have coached 45 years and coached that many sports. So my opinions are based on experiences and also on some research. So I enjoy talking to people about sports, and we don't have to agree.
Well, one of the things, you go on Barnes and Noble, you look online or go on Amazon and pull up your books right there. They have a great write up. So I encourage people to jump onto the Barnes and Noble or Amazon website and look up your book. You can go by your name or the name of the book. And taking the crazy out of high school or youth sports. And if you do that as name, you'll find a write up about you. Is that kind of amazing to go online and find this write up on Amazon
Oh,
about Coach Rick Keltner?
it's all new for me. Gary, like I said, it's for my first experience with it. I've had some other projects I've kind of started. When you're retired, you kind of, I've gotten back into some coaching and subbing and things like that. But I enjoy being retired. I've got a lovely, wonderful wife to spend time with and family. But I get a little bored sometimes. So it gave me something to do. It's a new hobby, a new area for me to explore, and I've enjoyed that part of it. The whole thing about being on Amazon and Barnes and Noble is anybody can write a book, but I'm very thankful that I've gotten to this point. And like I said, I have a couple ideas on some things. I'd like to write a book called Deliberately Lucky, just about some advice for younger coaches if you want to try to coach for a long time. And I think I've been lucky, but sometimes on the ways I've been deliberately lucky. There's some things I don't think you should do if you want to coach, if you want to coach for a long time, and just my opinions once again on that. And then I'd like to, Jesus Had a Jump Shot, a book about biblical characters and what kind of basketball players they might have been. So I've kind of messed around on that a little bit, but who knows? It took me so long to get this book done. I enjoy not working on books sometimes too. So I've been I never been a golfer. I used to make fun of golf, and 2 years ago I started playing a little bit of golf, and I love it now. I watch it on TV. So I'm this thankful that for every day that I get a chance to try something different. And I've been coaching, like I said, over Victoria, and I just love those kids, and that community has been good to me. So I'm very thankful. I get to do things that I like, and retirement is something that it means you're getting old, obviously, but it's just been a blessing to get to do some different things.
Remind our listeners and viewers quickly, why did you write this book?
Okay. When I got done, I coached, like I've already said, several years. And when I got done, I wasn't sure I wanted to be done yet, but I was at Hayes High School, very lucky to be at Hayes High School for 34 years, very thankful for every day there, but I wasn't quite ready to get out of it. But I thought Ryan Cornelison told me one day they would have had to shoot you in the head or something, because I just kept wanting to go one more year. That may be a horrible analogy, but anyway, I just wanted to go one more year. And so it kind of, when I did quit teaching and coaching at Hayes High School, it kind of meant I needed to do something with my life. Most of us don't want to just go home and not do anything, every day. So I thought, well, I'm going to work on a book, and I've always thought, it motivated when I was coaching. If I would go scat, no matter what gym you're in, you've already alluded to this, but whatever gym you're in, if you go watch high school sports, my book's kind of got a slant on youth sports, but it's kind of focused on high school sports. When you go to school sports, it's like 73% of all kids quit playing sports by age 13. Age 13 is when they quit. And in high school, that's about the time, they start having tryouts and all that kind of stuff. I thought when you look at teenage suicide and depression and eating disorders and all the things that are going on, that's about the time we need to try to find some positive actions for young people. And so I thought, why is that happening? And then when I would go in a gym to scout or whatever as a coach, you can hear people in any gym sometimes and see them that sometimes just don't seem very happy. They should be happier watching their kids play, but they're upset with officials, the coach, playing time. Playing time is the Mount Everest of youth sports. It's the thing where a lot of issues arise, because we all want our kid to play. There's just so many things that I learned through the research, just watching other people. I thought, I just like to get the dialogue going. How can we make this better? And it's all of us. The peace process in my book, it's the peace process, taking the crazy out of youth sports, the peace process. That's parents, educators, athletes, coaches, and everyone else. That's the acronym. and every one of those groups have something to do with the potential success in sports for young people. And they all can do things better. And coaches, we all, can do things. I had a friend who went to watch his son play, came from Alaska. It was a divorce situation. And he came to watch his kid play at an area school. And he was in a JV football game that the score was 48-12. And his kid never played a play. And then the next year, they were wanting the kid to play football again. The kid was saying no. Well, to me, just my opinion, I just think coaches should be aware of the fact that, what's the motive here? You want everybody to play or not? Or you want them to play? If you're a JV game, I guess what I'm trying to say, Gary, I think everybody should play, at least some portion of the game. And I think you can win at all costs if you want to the varsity level. But if your kids are playing, we need to talk about, and coaches need to talk to parents, in my opinion, about that. That's on the coach about communicating. Okay, we're going to be a win at all costs JV program. To make sure the parents know that when grandparents come from Ashland, Kansas, something like that, their grandson may not get to play in a 48-12 game. So I think coaches have some obligations to try to communicate to parents. And I'm not trying to pick on coaches. Parents have obligations to not have unrealistic expectations. It's amazing. There's fist fights at 4-year-old soccer games because a guy thinks his kid's not playing the position he should be playing for college. It's like, 7% of kids will play college sports, high school athletes. 2% will play Division I. So we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. And sometimes coaches are former athletes that look at it as a college farm system, but really 93% of the kids aren't going to play college. So I just think it's worth talking about what are our goals here. I think you can have both. You can be a competitive program, but also try to get more inclusive. But once again, it's a very volatile subject.
Yeah, Coach, let's take a quick break here, but I want to come back and talk about who should read this book and why. And we'll talk about that. We're going to take a break. Our guest today is Coach Rick Keltner. Just has a book out called Taking the Crazy Out of Youth Sports. We'll be back with more after this.
The most successful investors are those that can keep their emotions in check and take a longer-term view at what portfolios will be worth 3 to 5 years down the road. I'd say that's the most important in determining what investor outcomes are. Market corrections will continue in the future. We've seen many of them over the years, only to see equity prices rise higher, and that'll be the case in the future.
Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever with our guest, Rick Keltner, coach now at Victoria, former coach at Hayes High, and just published a book. It's on Amazon, Books and Noble. You can go there and get that. It's Taking the Crazy Out of Youth Sports, the Peace Process. Coach, this talks about, and you mentioned this, communication is a big part. But if one of the groups that you talk about doesn't communicate, the whole thing can break down. So who really needs to read this book?
Well, my hope, and some of my friends that have read it and people who've given me input have said that it would be good for young coaches, administrators, athletic directors, people like that. Once again, it's just my opinions and some research things, and I've got opinions, but I think, gosh, I'd sure like to see the sports experience be more peaceful for people, if that's even possible. Some of the videos you see now on YouTube and things like that, people are just, moms are rolling around a wrestling match fighting and all kinds of things. And I just think that it's probably oftentimes good church-going people who suddenly the formula for chaos is a argument about a call or a decision or a win or a loss, and then one person says something other, and all of a sudden you've got violence. People have been killed and all kinds of stuff at youth sports. So I just think that my hope would be just opening some dialogue. And in the book, and some of it may be unrealistic, but I think it's worth telling me why it's unrealistic. Some of it is having a process. I think, there's 10 logs of the peace process. And one of them is just, and once again, I believe, I'm kind of idealistic. I believe, I'm not ashamed to say that, but the golden rule is the first stick in the bundle of peace process sticks. Treat people like you'd like to be treated. That's the basic tenet in so many religions around the world. I don't think it's unrealistic to say that we should treat people like we'd like to be treated. So that's the first one, and then the second one is honor. Sportsmanship's been a great word for sports and very important for sports, but I think almost sportsmanship awards sometimes get equated by some people to be like the loser. We lost, we got the sportsmanship award. Well, keep those. I still believe in those awards, but honor. Well, how can we honor the game? How can we honor each other, the officials? And so kids talking about honor is not a horrible thing. Coaches talking about we're going to try to honor each other is not a bad thing. You know, it's maybe not in vogue in some circles because it's all about winning at all costs in some situations and things like that at youth games. And then we talk about each group, parents, educators, athletes, coaches, and everyone else, and what they can contribute. And I kind of think I tried to share some stories about things that I know have upset people in sports, and how can we kind of try to address that before it happens, and maybe have a plan. You know, if you're upset, there needs to be a chain of command, and you need to stay with it. You shouldn't be cornering the superintendent at the grocery store or the principal and trying to talk about the coach or anybody there. There should be a process, and kids, young people are supposed to learn responsibility in that chain of command. If there's a problem, that the athlete should go see the coach first. And they're just I do have a chain of command. A lot of school districts have one just like it or very similar to it already, but you need to have that. I also need that at your meeting with your young people. You need to, and their parents, you need to make sure you address a playing time policy. You know, what we believe and what we're going to try to do. And so, going in what the goal is of the program there, and the coaches understand it, and we all kind of agree. I've got a pledge. I don't want to call it a contract, so I'm not going to get into legal issues or anything with anybody, but just that we pledge to do some of these things. And I gave it to the parents at Victoria just to. It's not a legal document. These are things that we believe that we're going to try to do here, and you all have this, and it's available to you. And just so you know about playing time and things like that, what we're going to try to do, knowing there's no perfect way to do it, Gary, but I just think that I just like to see it try to make it better. I just, it's not hard to go get on YouTube and type in incidents at youth sports and be appalled and be amazed at what you're seeing there. And even the whole thing I mentioned in my book also, what the chances are of young people getting scholarships to college. And it's admirable goal. We all have been there at some point with our kids or ourselves. And but we're letting it cloud the enjoyment of young people when they, you know what young people, this is research, it's in my book, but you know what young people don't like the most about sports? Most surveys ask adults, Gary. Very few ask kids what they want in youth sports. And there is some research out there that does ask young people, and their least favorite thing about youth sports, and one of the surveys I have in the book, is the ride home after the game with their parents. I just think that's educational. In some ways, it's like, because some of us have. I can remember times when my kids were young, and we're going home after game. I'm saying, okay, I don't care if you make mistakes, but you can't have somebody want the ball more than you, and that kind of thing, and on loose balls and things like that. But just make sure that as a parent, we tell people, our kids, that we love watching them play. We love watching them be a part of a team, and I think young people want that, and I just think parents need to be aware of that. And I thought, you asked me who should read the book. I thought before This Is Evil, I got very few anonymous letters when I coach, but all coaches get some. And I thought anonymously, if I was at a game and I saw some parent just losing their gourd, so to speak, I should mail them a book just because maybe they're the ones. Anonymously mail them a book, because I do. My intention is just to try to make people reflect and think a little bit about, okay, wait a minute. I can remember my son played college basketball. I can remember coming home one time and I was not happy with the coach. I was griping to my wife all the way home. And when I pulled up in the driveway, I thought, wait a minute, that guy's a good coach. And that my son likes that guy. So I just need to shut the heck up, and realize that, especially being a coach, I know how difficult it is to please everybody with playing time and do your job. So yeah, just shut the heck up, Dad. And it was good for me to just kind of reflect. And I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I've made plenty of mistakes in my journey, but anyway, I just think that it's a book that could hopefully help people maybe reflect on some of their own situations, or or apply it. A young coach, I've thought before, I learned the hard way on a lot of things. I mentioned that in the book, some mistakes I made as a coach where I thought I was doing the right thing. And all of a sudden I had a parent mad at me, and I thought my best intentions just blew up in my face. I thought I was trying to do the right thing for the kid, and they think I just, screwed them over and, did them wrong. So, we all have to do the best we can and know that we can't please everybody, but,
Boy, and those examples, Coach, help us so much in the world. Like you said, 93% of students don't go on to play sports, but they do go on to work in with their friends and neighbors in the workforce. They go on to do a career, and those things are so valuable down the road. So, Coach, where do we go to find your book? Somebody wants to get your book. They know that person in the stand. They may be related to that person in the stand, and they want to say, this would be a great book to have around the holidays. Where do they go to get it? What's the easiest way to do that?
Yeah, I think the easiest way is just to go to Amazon and type in taking the crazy out of your sports. Or if you type in peace process, it'll come up. And Barnes & Noble has it. It's a little cheaper on Barnes & Noble. I've told my friends, the publisher set the price, and I've learned a little bit about how that works, as far as I am not in this trying to make big money and anything like that, but the publisher set the price. And I know that there's a thing called book depositories that they can come in and tack a little bit more money on your book on Amazon. So I've learned about that kind of part of the business, but it's been interesting to me, and I truly just hope somebody can get some enjoyment out of it. And I truly, it's just my desire is not to try to take your money. My desire is just try to help youth sports get better.
Well, Coach, I know you're doing some book signing. You're going to be at the library on December 4th. If you haven't been watching or listening to this program after that time, go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble, check that out, get the book, and maybe it's something to share. If your kids are involved with sports, you have families, talk about why that's important, and it goes down to communication, respect. You talk about all those things, Coach. So congratulations on getting the book published. No small feat to get done, and to be out there and telling the story of the peace process in youth sports. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thanks. Yeah, I would like to mention this before I let them go. I do have some books. I'll have the book signing, and I'll be cheaper than Barnes & Noble or Amazon.
Plus, you get a signed copy of the book, right?
I don't know if that's any big deal, but I would definitely love to sell somebody a book cheaper than Barnes & Noble.
And from personal experience, you don't charge to sign the book. That's personal experience there. Mine is actually signed by the real Coach Keltner.
Well, I'm honored that somebody would want that. I'm kind of embarrassed by that because my autograph's pretty darn cheap, Gary. It'll always be cheap.
Coach, thanks so much. Congratulations, and appreciate you being on our program today.
Thank you so much for having me on, Gary. Thank you and thanks for all you do for Hays, Kansas.
Well, it's a great place to be. You know that. Coach Rick Keltner is our guest today on Forward Ever. The program is brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.